Well, it's been a number of years now since I first walked into this old building. And for most of that time, the work really hasn't been that glamorous. It's just been hauling, sorting, shoveling, and wondering what the heck have I gotten myself into. The whole grand adventure aspect of this turned out to be mostly, well, cleaning up after somebody else's grand adventure. And I'm not sure what's more impressive, the effort that takes to get all of this stuff out, or the lifetime that it must have taken to bring it all in. Because there are days when it feels like a Herculean task, and this place hardly looks different at all. It's like the needle doesn't even twitch. You go home sore and tired and wonder if it even mattered at all. But then there are times looking back in retrospect over the whole process where that you can see cleared floors, you can see clean spaces, you can see areas that are at that blank canvas stage. And it's only in those moments that you realize something is changing, that it is happening. Every bit of time and strength and, every ounce of willpower that I had, it's finally starting to give back a little bit. And for the first time, I find myself not thinking about what's broken. And it's really fun to think about what might become. What could this place hold when it's all said and done? Who will come here? What stories will they add to its walls? Maybe one day it'll even pay its own way. Imagine that. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about the direction that the building is moving in and what the future plans are for it. These are the kinds of thoughts that I couldn't afford before. But now, it just feels so good to have room for them. And I know that I haven't been very forthcoming about what those plans are. I would say over the last 6 months or so, I've kind of coalesced around a number of things, a number of hopes that I have for the building.
And the biggest reason for that is basically that I didn't even know myself. I haven't fully decided on exactly what the direction is and what we're going to do with this space because there are so many factors involved. But the one thing I did know is that it definitely had to be a modular approach because the project is so massive and we need to get one area up to speed. Thanks to Bob, actually. He kind of helped me focus. And so we've been focusing on that front area of the building. We want to get it up to speed, get it legal, get it up to code, and hopefully generating a little income and channel all that right back into the building and just keep the momentum going. Front door, and here we are. This is our first space. You guys are all familiar with this space. This is what we want to use for our venue rental space. But we've had all these ideas rolling in the back of our head for further out for the building. And I'm going to share some stuff with you guys today, and you might be a little bit surprised. So our first phase is basically this lower front area. That is the main building. That's the main building. And we're just dealing with everything on the outside, which is this whole lower front area, this giant loading dock room, and this room here, which is where we're going to pop to right now, here. So we've got this area, and then we have the loading dock, which is on the other side of the fire door that's currently closed at the moment. And it's little under 2,000 square feet. So the front area and the bathrooms are about 2,000 square feet, and so this is basically half of that lower external front area. And the things that I've hoped to do, the things that are on my mind, because with 66,000 square feet, there are so many possibilities, so much potential, and I don't have to decide everything at the moment. We can actually find out from the community what's needed and dedicate some space to that once the building's up and legal. But there are just like these 3 or 4 things that I have my heart set on, and I've talked about them in the past. One is the venue space. The second is a maker space. The third is like an antiques showroom where I can bring my antiques from Eastern Europe and do a little showroom in here. And I would like probably something like an artist space as well. But that's not even a small portion of the square footage that we have available to us. So let's start with the maker space, actually. And so the reason this space is great is because it has concrete floors. It's got a steel ceiling, it's got brick walls. And so if you're dealing with electronic tools and that kind of thing, maybe there's an occasional spark or whatever. This is both sides of this fire door have the same kind of situation where it's, I wouldn't say impervious to fire, but it's the safest place in the area where we could do a makerspace. So the idea is, because I have a YouTube channel and we've been getting sponsorships, we get cool stuff like laser welders and laser cleaners, and also we get 3D printers and different things that can help us move the needle on our project. But they have this double benefit, which is I can put them in the makerspace here at the building. And so if anybody here in the community would like access to a 3D printer that doesn't have one at home, they could come here and print it. If they wanted to learn how to weld with the laser, we can figure out the liability and the insurance and all that stuff, and that could happen as well. So I'm really excited about that. And as a matter of fact, if you guys remember, I recently reached out to Creality, and they gave us a first and a second laser engraver. Those two are both going to be here in the space. And I have some other stuff to share with you. Okay, so I am in the backyard of the place where I live in Wrocław, Poland. And I wanted to insert this segment because when I was flying back, I had kind of a thought, which is something really cool for this space would be like maybe not a trade school, but a place where somebody could come and get some education for manufacturing or the trades or something else. So we have the perfect space for it. We have a giant industrial space. We've got 3-phase electricity. We've got areas with concrete floors, overhead doors, loading docks, all of that stuff. But more importantly, we've got you guys. We got this community with retired people from the trades, people with who have completed their careers and they have so many skills. As a matter of fact, you've seen a lot of them here on this channel. And so I don't know how that would look at the moment, but I think it would be really cool to give some kind of job training, to get people in the building, but also to have a net positive impact in the community. So it would just be kind of poetic that the building is kind of contributing to American manufacturing again. So that would be really awesome. And speaking of really awesome stuff, and speaking of tools and stuff, so you guys know that recently we had the sponsorship with Creality. They make laser engravers and laser cutters and really awesome, cool DIY tools. And since one of the spaces that we want to make is a maker space, it's a perfect fit for a YouTube channel because companies reach out and they say, hey, review our product if your channel is kind of aligned with their brand. And it turns out that Brick and Soul is aligned with Creality, and they've sent us a lot of stuff that we're going to be able to kind of deck out our makerspace, because makerspace is like one of those things that are on the very top of the list for the building. So recently we had the episode where we used a 10-watt Falcon laser engraver cutter to engrave the Brick and Soul logo into original bricks from the building. With a 10-watt laser, we were able to burn into actual hard brick. And then they sent a second pro version to Bob, and it's really cool. So he's been playing with that. He does model trains, and he's going to be able to put that to use in making all kinds of stuff to the different train scales that he wants. I don't know how all that works, but he's going to be putting that to use. It's a really cool tool. And as a matter of fact, in our recent auction, this hat was made with a laser engraver cutter. And the interesting thing is that it sold at auction for about 300% higher than any other item in our fundraiser. So it just goes to show you that these things are really cool. They've got a lot of utility, and it's pretty exciting. So one thing that they sent us is this. It's a really cool scanner, and I'm going to actually make a video about this because right now, since we have kind of come to that place where we can start doing other things besides cleaning out, we can start to think about things like the fit and the finish and the design and the interior design and how we're going to deck everything out. And so for me, I love all those little industrial details. So I've got some things in the building that I've found which are kind of rare. You don't see them every day. They're super industrial, and I'd like to replicate them. And so this laser scanner is an awesome way that I can just lay it on the table. I wave it over like a wand. It produces a 3D model of it, and then we can figure out how to manufacture it. They also sent us, this is like a dryer and feeder for the material that 3D printers use. And like I said, I'm going to do another video on that, but we have these really cool industrial swing out seats that we want to put everywhere in the building. And so Jonas, who you guys remember, who's working on our 3D rendering of the channel, and he's helping us to create the models for that in a way that they can actually cast them. So there's like drafting angles and all kinds of stuff that have to happen. But then we'll be able to take that to a foundry and get those poured in cast iron, and it's super cool. But in order to do that, we want to do a 3D print. They're sending us, in addition to this, a gigantic 3D printer, which is really cool. We'll be able to print it in full scale, and we'll be able to just kind of test it, the fit, the finish. If the little stopper that controls how far the seat can open, we can actually hold it in our hands before we take it to get cast. And that's a process I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be super exciting. And right now, at the moment, they are promoting their their Falcon A1 Pro, which is the one that Bob has. And it's pretty cool because it's got the touchscreen monitor. It's got twice the power. It's not, actually, all things considered, it's not very expensive. Another thing that's really cool about it is it has an internal camera. So you don't have to know about X and Y coordinates or whatever. You put your material that you're working on inside there. The camera takes a picture. You just click and drag your photo onto it. You click and drag the corners and scale it. You tell it right there. And it does all the calculations. It knows where the stuff is. It knows the image that you want to put and what scale. And it just engraves it, or it cuts it out, whatever you want it to do. So that's a really cool tool. Right now they've got their Black Friday sale coming up. They're promoting this item. They got a big sale. And if you're interested in doing something, if you're interested in this, we have a promotion link in the description below. We get a little kickback, help us pay for our dumpster fund. So it's almost Christmas time. Give it a thought. Check out their website. There's a ton of YouTube videos about this stuff. So if you'd like to go down the rabbit hole and check it out and see what it's about, just look up Creality on YouTube, and you'll find everything you need. We're very grateful to them for sending all this stuff. We're going to actually put this in our makerspace and make it available to everybody in our community as soon as we can get the place up and legal. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so we've got our venue space here, and that's a place to have a celebration after you get married, or whatever family party, baby shower, or whatever's going on, and you need a place for it. This will be for rent and available. But this building has the potential to be so much more spectacular, and we'd like to make this a wedding space, but I'm going to get back to that in just a second. So as you know, starting with the venue space, we're taking that modular approach. And the rule is, if you want to separate a section of the building and create a smaller standalone building or structure that counts as its own building, then you have to have a firewall that starts at the foundation, goes up through every floor, goes to the top ceiling and through the roof and pierces the roof. And in that way, you basically got a smaller building. So even though they're attached, they're legally considered two separate buildings. And why is that a benefit for us? Fire suppression is required, and fire suppression and sprinkler system is incredibly expensive. So with the modular approach, we can segment off a small area. It will have its own requirements for fire suppression based on that area that we've firewalled off and turned into its own space. And in that little area, can get up to speed and hopefully generating income and doing all that stuff, and then we can move on to the next area. So when I think about the building, I hold it in my mind in a way where there's a first wing, the opposite, the second wing, and then the annex, which runs perpendicular to basically the whole length of the building. And then we have that lower front area outside that wraps around. That lower front area is like phase one. So that's what we're trying to get up and legal first. Secondly, our thinking for the second phase would be to firewall this off right here. So then that area of the building, I'll show you the floor plan here. This whole area would be phase two. Now, as I mentioned before, if we do this, basically, we've been doing some power washing. And there's our drain. It's not going down, but anyway, the firewall would be across here. And very, very fortunate for us, all of the joists run in this direction. So basically our firewall would come right along the inside of this column, go up, shoot up through all 3 floors and out the ceiling. And this idea is pending sign off on an architect and getting permitting and all that stuff. So this is a moving target, and we won't know. The building basically reveals what it's going to be. So the only thing I can do is try to tell you a little bit where our thinking is. Bob and I have been talking about it quite a bit. But there's something to tell you about this space that might surprise you. So the building was built in 1919, and it has gone through so many iterations. There have been additions, buildings have been removed from the property, walls have been erected, walls have been taken down. We've got patches of hardwood flooring, we've got patches of concrete. Just the other day, we found a bathroom that we never knew existed right here. These were toilets and a divider wall, probably men's and women's or women's and men's. But the one thing that we know is true for the original form of the building is that the main footprint of the building with the 17-inch walls that go around the entire perimeter of the building, that was the actual original form. So in a way, that's really liberating because that's what we're trying to protect. That's what we want it to be in the end. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about all of these rooms that are behind me. They're still lined with paneling. You guys know from this channel how much we've been suffering through tearing down paneling with plywood behind it and slowly, just inch by inch, clawing back that exposed brick and the original look of the building. So if you can imagine this, once these rooms, if they weren't here, you would see those 9-foot windows. Half of those windows are covered up, but those are 9-foot floor to ceiling windows, basically. That paneling removes that, those windows completely open up. You can see them up through the remainder of that drop ceiling. The tiles are out, so you can actually see how big those windows are. This is a gigantic space. Probably another 4,000 square feet just on this floor alone. We've got the second floor and we've got the third floor. So bear with me because I got a lot of information to share with you guys today. So where we're at the moment is that we want to open this back up to its original form. These are all stick-built walls with really thin masonite. They're basically non-existent. As you can see, there's giant chunks cut out of them, and they weren't there at the very beginning of the building anyway. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to remove this, and this isn't going to happen immediately. It's going to be a little bit down the road. We're going to remove this room, I spent so much time in love with this room with these tin walls. Sadly, it's gonna go. This room here, and you can see basically it's just plywood. That's all it is. I think there's some 2x4s in the mix, but it's basically an ultra thin wall. And yeah, it's not the priority in the restoration. So the benefit of removing these rooms is that we're going to get this gigantic open space again with the big windows. Now, the one exception that we're going to leave is this room here, and Bob has an idea for it. So this is a room that is on the wrong side of the firewall. So this is our venue space. And then this is the 17-inch thick firewall. But in here, we're gonna have an office. We have to have at least, we've got our studio room over there, but we would like to have an office. And Bob's idea was to do this up like a 1930s office, like it would have been back in the day. With antique telephones, antique desk, chairs, furniture, clock on the wall, all of that stuff. And then once that section of the building is legal, we could put a plexiglass window or something so people can look in there. And if we're really smart about it, we can make it a vintage office, but also still use it. So that would be really cool. It's got there's our bathroom, working bathroom. And so the idea is that this entire space would be completely open. And at that point, it could be used for anything. So we could do more additional venue space. We could grow our maker space. We could do an arts and crafts center. We can do a senior center. There's so much that we could do, and a lot of it will depend on what the need in the community is. But that brings us back to our wedding space. So if you guys remember, I had a video where I introduced Jonas to you guys, the guy in Germany who's helping us do a 3D model of the final results of the building and what it's going to look like. That was a kind of a very early iteration of that thing that he's developing that we can share on the channel and use for pre-visualization for all the efforts that we're trying to do. But in the video, we shared that there was a vaulted ceiling in here where the weddings can happen. And this space is gigantic. So what are we thinking? And this is going to be dependent completely on the architectural or structural engineer and the architect. But we may have to do some beam supports or leave some of these floor joists. But the idea is to remove this floor and take it up to where we have like 30-foot ceilings in here. This is a giant, massive space. This is like over 20 feet wide here, 25 feet wide. You could have a wedding here and a reception on that side, or you could just have a massive wedding here with the giant windows. The windows, once that floor is removed, there would be 2 rows of windows. Right now they're all blocked up and they're boarded up to keep the break-ins under control. But once those open up and the light just spills in here, it's really awesome. It was like, these windows were all open when we bought the place. And I still remember what it was like when the whole place was lit up. And then walking back in here, if you look up, then that would be a balcony there. So all this would be open, but then there would be a balcony there. And we'd like to bring in the fire escapes from outside, a couple of those, maybe left and right, and put them inside because they're the perfect height. And then we've got the remains of 3 different fire escapes. Some of them are partly missing, but hopefully we can reconstruct them. We'd have 3 different sets of stairs. And let me show you where the next set would be used. Okay, so we're up on the 2nd floor. You can see that the condition of the hardwood because of leaking roof is basically really horrible. We've done a lot to get this place emptied out. You can see that there's still a bunch of stuff in here left, but there's some pretty severe damage to the floor. As a matter of fact, if this section is removed, we're going to have less square footage in the building, which is a drawback, but at the same time, it's less square footage that we have to provide fire suppression for, which makes the project a little more attainable for us. The other thing is that because we've had a leak in the building for so long, there are areas where a lot of the wood, let me show you some here, has water damage on it. And I don't very often show what's really up in the ceiling because I never think about it. But there's some, decay in the wood. And if you look, oops, see, I almost tripped right there. If you look around, look at that giant bubble. There are all kinds of places that need to be repaired. And when we remove this floor, we'll salvage every little piece. So the good hardwood flooring can patch up the areas that need repair. The joists can replace the stuff that's water damaged. The tongue and groove can be used as well for some areas where we have floor problems. And basically this will give us the material that we need to repair in other places. Okay, now further out, there's one other big kind of thing that I've never really talked about. But it's a major thing too. So this is just like, what I'm sharing with you is my vision, what I would love to do here. When we get in with the architect and we get in with the structural engineer, they may put the kibosh on everything. But this is my hope. And the thing is that, like, there is a certain value in honoring the history of the building and keeping things, trying to get it back to as close as original as you can. But at the same time, we need to adapt it for modern times, and we need to adapt it so that it can actually be used. And so that means making certain changes. There are like ADA considerations, there's building codes, there's all kinds of stuff. And plus, we just want it so that it makes sense for life today, and just try to honor the history of the building, but also make it usable. So if removing that second floor piece was a surprise for you, this is really going to be a surprise for you. So, okay, here I am in the area on the second floor where we stored all the stuff that we wanted to put in auction. My thinking on the auction is also evolving, but more on that later. And this honestly is a really beautiful space in the building. The timbers are a lot closer together, and the cool thing about it is the windows are still open all the way around, basically. So you got 360 degrees pretty much of light in the building. So that's wonderful. And I'm zoned light industrial, and according to light industrial zoning, I can do room and board, which means that I can make an Airbnb or, a crash pad or whatever. So we also have the zoning for creating a place for a caretaker. So if there was one place in the building to do something like that, this is it, because it's got hardwood floors. There's lots of these really cool timbers. It's got an incredibly industrial look. And if you look over here, we got the elevator that opens up. Remember back in the day in the 80s when all the coolest guys had the apartment where the elevator opened right up into it? We got that. And then we've got these recesses, 3 of them. You'll remember we talked about downstairs that firewall was going to be coming up right here on the inside of these columns. So we've got this recess, we've got this recess, and we've got this recess over here. This particular recess right here is right above where our bathrooms will be. So, which is really awesome. Basically, right on the other side of this wall is where that is. And that means we've got access to sewage, we can put a bathroom in here. So let me back up just, and this might be a little bit controversial. So we'll see. So there are 3 recesses over there. And the 3rd floor is basically an exact mirror copy of this floor. So what I want to do is I want to remove this section of the 3rd floor, this section of the 3rd floor, and that section of the 3rd floor. So when you're standing in this kind of area, you're going to have that vaulted ceiling with double windows effect. And I need to have Jonas make this rendering too. You have these gigantic windows all the way around, 2 layers of them, the lower layer and then the upper layer. We'll still have these beams. All the beams will still be here. Probably some supports, tie-ins, and other things that the structural engineer needs. And then on this far side over here, we will leave the balcony. There will be a balcony there. And then the section that we remove here, 1, it's getting a little bit confusing, 2 and 3, it won't go all the way back. It'll stop out here, so there'll be a balcony there. So we'll have a balcony and a balcony. And then the result will be a gigantic open space here with vaulted ceilings. And then a room upstairs, a room downstairs, a room upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, and downstairs. So there'll be like 6 different rooms. One of them is a bathroom, probably a little office, maybe a sleeping area. And then the same thing upstairs. This, the one that would be up here would be open. Sorry, my camera's not focusing. Because it can't be closed off because it was gonna be a fire escape route. So that'll have to stay open. Here's the stairs that I was talking about. We're gonna harvest these from around the building and try to adapt them. And we'd have an internal set of stairs going up to get up to the 2nd floor. So that will be really cool. And this will be, I think, the most gorgeous industrial space that I've ever seen. So, guys, I know that's kind of a shock. And, you know, we're so far from that actually being real. But I've got to have a North Star and a vision, and that's what I've been thinking. And just one last thing that I forgot. So we were talking about the phased approach and the firewalls and stuff. So right over here is our big open wedding space. There's the balcony there that we talked about. And these joists on this side are also running in that direction as well. So the balcony would be out here, but back here, I don't know, maybe say here, right here at this corner. These joists are running this way. Our next firewall can go up through there. The only thing is I got to figure out fire code wise how to protect those beams. Those are the one thing that interfere with our firewall. But the cool thing about that is up there, we have the bathrooms. And so like in preparation for a wedding, those bathrooms, those big industrial bathrooms could be used for preparation or whatever. And then a bride could come down here and, you know how it is. Beautiful and all that. So I've been reluctant to actually share all that stuff because it seems like it's so far away. And I know there's a lot of opinions about what to do and what not to do. But my goal is really to make this a beautiful space, honor the building, and just make it available to people and get it open. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Am I on the right track? Am I running down a path that's going the wrong direction or what? So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this little insight into what we've been thinking in the background. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your comments. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.